Alex Perez, who's covered the violence in Chicago for us for years now.
All right, in Chicago, 17-year-old Janae Patterson's mother grieving.
They took my baby. So scary. These days, you don't have to even be in a gang. You don't have to be doing anything wrong. Just at the wrong place at the wrong time.
And I believe, as a result, that was one of the things that drew me close to God. Having the opportunity to pray that prayer on a regular basis, God, don't let me die in my sins. And when I was in that jail cell, man, God began to minister to my heart and talk to me. And things began to break off of me, and I began to feel the peace of God. And I embraced God's presence. And from that day forward, man, my life just changed.
Come on and give God another hand clap of praise.
Chicago making international headlines this morning after a violent and bloody 4th of July weekend.
More than 100 people were shot since Friday. 14 of them are dead.
Shootings and violent crime have skyrocketed in Chicago.
Arthur Dixon, and I had some good times in that school, but you know, I was a little knucklehead. Ended up getting kicked out of the school, and the principal, man, she made sure that, I mean, literally at 7th grade, man, can you imagine being a shorty and you get banned from going to another public school? Like, she put it on my records, like literally, where I couldn't go to it. Like, when she kicked me out of this school, my mother tried to put me in another grammar school. They like, it's a ban on your record. Can you imagine being in 7th grade as a kid, you acting out, you know, you being a knucklehead, but you get kicked out of school, and then your parents try to put you in another school, and they tell you, well, we can't accept your child because your child has been banned from grammar school, from a public grammar school, from Chicago Public Grammar School. And we like, this lady's serious. She actually put it where my records, if I went to another grammar school in Chicago, in a public school, that I could not attend a public grammar school. So my parents had to actually put me in a private school for 1 year in order for me to graduate from 8th grade. And, you know, my parents, they'd have had the money for that, you know. But at the same time, you know, they had to do what they had to do, scrape up their pennies and, you know, do what they had to do to put me through grammar school. But I believe from that experience, man, just the rejection of that caused so much impact as it relates to what I was already dealing with as a struggling kid. Man, it pushed me deeper and deeper into this hole where it was almost like no turning back for me. You know, after I went to the private school, which was crazy too. That's a trip that I'd experienced because, you know, you think you send your kids to a private school and, they're gonna be around kids who might not, come from the same element as the public school, but to be honest, it was just as worse, if not worse, because, a lot of these kids, had the money to do certain things that the kids in the public school weren't able to do. So they was more, they was more conniving, some of them, and more sneaky, more crazy than a lot of kids I used to hang around in the public school. So. About the age 13, man, I found myself involved in gangs. Yeah, on my way to high school, between 8th grade and 9th grade, I remember that summer I ended up joining the gang. I became a member as a shorty of a street gang called the Gangster Disciples. Some people know them as Folks or the GDs. And I started out as a shorty going to sessions and, hanging with the older cats and start working packs and, working corners, doing security. And I was known as Big Shorty for a long time because I was one of the biggest shorties from my set. And, when I look back over my life, man, I think that a lot of times as parents, we look at our children and we say, man, why is my child behaving like that? And I grew up in a time when your parents, when you get to acting out, they kick your butt. You know what I mean? They put some belt to your skin. And me being a father, I realized, man, when your child acting up, you need to find out, what's the root cause of this? What's going on with your child? And all the time, my parents didn't know till later on. I had been molested before all of this behavior started transpiring. And that molestation, man, took me to a dark place. And I went from, acting out at school to joining gangs to selling drugs to carrying guns, stealing cars, you name it as a kid, man. I just became devious. And a lot of that was because of that dark place. And I believe that the enemy, he uses those dark places, not only to try to put us in bondage, but to put us in a situation where our lives become destroyed, man. And I was definitely on the road to destruction, and I'm just, just looking back over my life, man, I'm just so blessed, man, because I've been shot twice, through incarceration, and, seeing many of my guys shot down and killed and even locked up, many of them, man, them streets ain't nothing to play with. Them streets ain't no joke. If I could say anything to a shorty or anybody, involved in the street life, the reality of it all, for me, the streets is like, a beast. I call it the belly of the beast. And the streets will swallow you whole. I don't care who you are, how smart you think you are, how much you think you could finesse your way through these streets. Man, these streets will swallow you whole. I know some of the baddest, the smoothest cats that got locked up, for 60 years and for 80 years. And some of them, they end up getting locked up for crimes that they didn't commit after they'd have done all the foolishness years and years and years of their life. Because sometimes you can think you're getting away, but at the end of the day, you may get by, but you may not get away. You know what I'm saying? And I know even cats that they got out the game and then later on, some crazy end up happening to them because somebody may still think they holding a bag of money, or, they feel like, man, this cat that got out of the game because he a millionaire, and they find a way, they plot, they still come get you. These streets, man, they don't come with no retirement plan. It's either death or jail. But at the end of the day, ain't no love. Ain't no love. Man, I remember years ago, man, when I first came in the game, I was a shorty right here on 83rd and Racine, man. I got jumped on by 4 cats. I was a shorty, didn't know what I was doing, just like a lot of these shorties, man. They think they know what they doing right here on this corner, man. And I had just came from somebody's crib, and I was standing on this corner waiting for the bus. And boy, did I not know, what I was in for. And just talking about the, just the blessings of God, man. I remember one of the cats, because this area is dominated by Blackstones. And I remember one of the cats just like yesterday, man, telling the other cat, go back to the car, get the gun, Mo. And when I heard that, man, I took off so fast. And they was chasing me in the car, and I ran through the alley, and I'm talking about I was like the biotic man. I jumped over a 6-foot fence without even touching it. Talking about what fear do. I was fearing for my life. And God brought me out of that situation, man. I look back on my life, man, I'd have been shot at several times, and, guns pulled out on me, been in situations, man, where, my life was threatened. But God, He had mercy on me and saw me through it all. And for that reason, I know there's a purpose for my life. And, I remember when the day God changed my life, I was out in Ragtown in the Wild Wild Hundreds, and me and a buddy of mine at the time, Messi, we were sitting in the car drinking and smoking, and he had some sounds in the back of his trunk, in the back of his car, and they was wow, 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 wow. So I guess some neighbors in the, some residents in the neighborhood, they was complaining because of the music being too loud. So they called the police. And to our surprise, as we chilling, car parked, sitting there smoking, the 13s pull up. They pull up on the side of us, put the light inside the car, over the loudspeaker, tell us to let the windows down. You know, I ain't want to let the windows down. I'm on the passenger side, my buddy in the driver's side. I'm like, no, you know, we can't let the windows down. This car full of smoke. They repeated themselves. We let the windows down, smoke get to rushing out. They jump out the car, make us both get out the car, put us both on the hood of the car. Now my buddy, he in the driver's seat with a fifth of Hennessy in his lap. He get out, both of us on the hood, they run my name, they see I got a warrant, they end up throwing me in the back seat and pulling off. Now I'm in the back seat, handcuffed, looking at my buddy like, man, he was in the driver's seat. And they ain't throw him in the car, you know, he was the driver. But because of that situation, man, when I got locked up, I knew it was God, man. Because as I was sitting in the holding cell waiting to be expedited back to Will County, where I had the warrant at, man, God just began to talk to me and just really show me my life. And all those things that I have gone through and, you know, with being shot and being locked up and so many of my homies getting locked up and getting killed, God allowed me to see my life. It was like, man, it was like a movie playing on my mind. And it was like I could hear God saying, it's time to get that life up. Now, a part of me wasn't really ready, but I knew God had been pressing on my heart, man, because I wasn't happy where I was, man. And I'll never forget, my mama used to always tell me to pray this prayer, even when I was a youngster out of my mind, man, going crazy out here in the streets. My mom used to always say, baby, pray this prayer. She said, always pray this prayer. Say, God, don't let me die in my sins. And man, just thinking about that, you know, it's powerful, man, because I remember praying that prayer that my mama told me to pray. And I believe as a result, that was one of the things that drew me close to God. Having the opportunity to pray that prayer on a regular basis, God, don't let me die in my sins. And when I was in that jail cell, man, God began to minister to my heart and talk to me. And things began to break off of me, and I began to feel the peace of God. And I embraced God's presence. And from that day forward, man, my life just changed. You know, as I began to open my heart up to God and receive God, as God was talking to me, things begin to really change, you know, as it relates to my perspective, and as it relates to what, you know, how I was living and what I was doing. I said, you know what, God, at the end of the day, I knew I'd have no peace the way I was living. I was trying to, you know, convince myself that I was okay, I was happy, I was free doing what I was doing. But at the end of the day, you know, I wasn't happy where I was at. I was in a dark place. I was a hurting man, you know, and I was hurting a lot of other people, man, you know, about a lot of things that I did in the streets. And I'm just so grateful that God had mercy on me and gave me another opportunity, you know, just to be able to, you know, to live and to have my freedom to be a father and a husband, and being able to put me in a position where I'm able to teach my son to do better, to live better, and to make wise decisions and be a better man than even I was and even I am. Like I said, if I could tell any shorty out here anything, anybody involved in the street life, I would tell them, man, the streets, man, will swallow you whole. It's the belly of the beast. The streets will swallow you whole. You know, at the end of the day, you know, no matter how you think, you know, you may be, you know, getting away or get by, you know, at the end of the day, man, it's a system in place, you know, that's designed to bring you down, to take you out. And man, you in the midst of some real warfare, you know, And even the Bible says the devil come to steal, kill, and destroy your life. At the end of the day, that's what he want to do, destroy your life. And it was like, even when I was in that jail cell, when God was ministering to my heart, it was like God was showing me that the devil was trying to destroy my life, and I was assisting him. You know, through the life I was living, I was aiding and assisting the devil in destroying my life. You know, and I just look back, man. I mean, that picture in my mind of, you know, running from gunshots and, you know, high-speed chases with the police and, you know, being locked up and, you know, sharing a cell with somebody, you know, while they taking a dump and I'm laying up there smelling this cat. You know, I mean, just, you know, throughout my life, just seeing, man, how many times God has had his mercy and his grace on my life. He just brought me to a place of humility and surrender. Say, God, I surrender. I surrender. I surrender. And that's where I'm at, man, from this day forward. I surrender.